Okay, so today I'm going to be recording on an iPhone, and I just tested it and it sounded pretty crappy. But like I said before, I don't have time to do I'm not gonna be editing anything. I mean, maybe in the future if I have time to actually put into this. I'll put into trying to get rid of the background noise and stuff, but you can definitely hear it, so I apologize for that. But my main point is getting out information. Okay, so if you can tolerate the background noise, then good. If not, I'm sorry. Okay, so what do I want to talk about today? Today is starting with the first year, okay? Because when it comes to the NAPLEX, it starts from P1 year. That's what I thought. Okay, so if you, and this is a message to anyone who's trying to become any type of STEM major, and specifically if you're trying to get into healthcare, pharmacy, nursing, dentistry, trying to become a doctor, anything. It's not only going to school, right? It's not only getting a degree, because the degree means almost nothing if you cannot pass whatever board exams you have to take. So that's number one. That's something that you have to keep in mind, especially as someone who's applying to pharmacy school. A lot of people ask me, like, oh, should I do pharmacy? How do I know if I want to do pharmacy? And we immediately jump into, okay, what do pharmacists do as like career choices? Retail, hospital, industry, we go into the specifics of what is the life of a pharmacist, but we never go into, what is the life of a student? How do you even get to that point that you start working? Because a lot of people, they fall in love with the idea of becoming a pharmacist, but then when they start becoming a pharmacist, when they start going to school, it's just like, we didn't sign up for this. Okay, and then they're stuck in it for 4 years and they're $200,000 in debt. So, that's something to keep in mind. And not only for the NAPLEX, but when you graduate and you start working as a pharmacist, when you pass the NAPLEX,
there's a speed
2
trap ahead.
years. Hold on. In 2 years, you're gonna have to start, doing continuing education credits. So it's an ongoing education. This is not like one-time exam and that's it, you're done. And then some people get, certifications, what's it called, BSc, what's it called, BCPS, sorry, yeah, BCPS, for if you want to become a clinical pharmacist, right? So, I mean, the higher up you go, the more exams you'll have to take. And at baseline, you'll have to take continuing education credits anyways. So that's something to keep in mind. So to make your life easier, what you want to do is start out, maybe not P1 year, maybe P1 year is too early, but by P2 year, buy a NAPLEX book. Buy a very old NAPLEX book. Don't buy anything current. Don't pay like $500 or anything like that. Pay like $20 or $50 for a very old, even if it's like 2018, 2017 NAPLEX book, just to get an idea of what the topics are going to be, right? And then start organizing your notes like in files. So the way that I did it was using Anki, Anki, Anki. If you don't know what that is, ask a medical student friend. I'm just joking. It's basically a note card memorizing software. Okay, so that's what it is, and it uses space memory, space repetition to memorize information. That's what it does. Okay, so if you and you know, like med students, they have this already for their USMLEs, for step 1 and step 2. They already have that, and same thing for the DATs. For dentists, they have that as well for Anki. But I don't know if so. When I downloaded Anki, there was a few things for NAPLEX. For MPJE, there's like 0, and that's sort of understandable because it varies state by state. But yeah, I mean, for NAPLEX, there were a few chapters, but they're not like cohesive, I would say, because it's made by random people. Like, random people put in their note cards, and you don't know. It's sort of like Quizlet, but better. So yeah. So I mean, you can use Quizlet, you can use Anki, you can just literally just have files on your computer with information. But that's what you want to do. From P1 year, or P2 year, P3 is too late. P3 is way too late. I would start at least by P2 year. Make note cards or files of therapeutic chapters, calculations, and as you go through each chapter, look up questions. So I know a few medical schools that actually have their step 1, like their board exam questions, embedded into their curriculum. Okay, so it's embedded into their curriculum. So when it comes time to exam time, it's like they've already done those questions so many times that it's very easy for them, right? So that's what you want to do. You want to make the similar scenario for yourself. Every single time you go over, let's say if you go over a cardio module, right, in school, then you want to go to the NAPLEX book and see what does the NAPLEX book say about the cardio chapter. Okay, and then, like, what do you need to focus on? Okay, and I mean, I'm gonna try to make videos about that too. I'm literally gonna try to go through each chapter of the NAPLEX book that I have and try to break it down into how to approach the chapter. Okay, so that's what I would do starting from early on. I would start in Anki, so that by P4 you've created so many note cards, you've created so many files or whatever, so many things that you've already memorized that it's going along with your actual curricula, that it's very easy to recall the information when you're actually studying for the exam. Because if you have your notes unorganized, they're all over the place, you're just going test by test, and then you're forgetting the information, you're not holding on to it, it's going to take you months. It's going to take you so many months to study for this exam. Okay, so that's the reason to do. You know what's funny? Like, after the exam, like when I was done studying the exam, when I took the exam, I came back home and I have a bunch of like binders and stuff with my notes, and like I have them on online as well on Anki and everything. And I was just reading through. I was like, yo, these are the same exact. This is the same exact information that I learned in school. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, the RX prep is definitely like you have to buy that, but guess what? Everything you learned in school, that's all that the RX prep book is doing. It's just repeating what you already learned. So I mean, like, technically there is a scenario where you could risk it and let's say if you really knew your school information, you would not need to buy the RX prep book. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, hypothetical scenario. I mean, I know everyone's gonna buy it. I'm just saying that there is a scenario. There is a high chance that if you know your information from school, there's no need to pay money for a book, right? But I mean, buying a book gives you confidence. It gives you question structure. I mean, like, what you would do is, you would just learn the stuff from your school, and then you would just buy the test bank and just do the test questions, and then you'll see that, like, you know everything. So yeah, I mean, that's just hypothetical. I'm not being practical. I'm just saying everything that's in the RX prep, nothing is new. Okay, that's basically what I'm trying to say. Okay, good. So you do that P1 year, P2 year, P3 year, P4 year, right? You keep on going, and then hopefully you've kept on. See, what Anki does is that it forces you to memorize every single day, and it forces you to recall information that just happened, that you had like a month ago, a year ago. So it's like continuing your memorization while you're going through the years, so that when it's time to study for the NAPLEX, it's very easy for you to recall the information, to study it. Okay, so that's number one. Start organizing your notes from day one. Okay, number two. I am going to talk about the type of student that you need to be. In order to pass the NAPLEX in an easy way, very easily, okay? So first, organization is key. Second, type of student. You are studying to make sure that you don't kill other people. That's literally it. NAPLEX is a safety exam. It's not a clinical exam. It's not an exam to see who's the best resident. It's not like you don't need to know every single thing in the world. It's there to make sure that you don't kill another person. And that's how you have to take school. I know it's fun. I know, like, after every exam we're like partying. I get it. But you have to get it down, even in your P1, P2 year, you have to get it down in your head that you're not in undergrad anymore. Okay? And what I mean by that is you cannot be, I mean, I'm going to say, I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right? You cannot be taking shortcuts in school anymore. It's not going to happen. Because the consequence is not you failing an exam. The consequence is you not having information. If the consequence is you graduating and then you not having information when a patient comes up to you and asks you a question. Because then it gets very embarrassing. Then you have a person who's, and I've seen pharmacists like this, okay? They're like 2-3 years out, or even, I've even seen pharmacists that are 5 or 6 years out. Okay, and people come up to them, they ask them questions, and these guys don't know anything. They're giving anecdotal evidence. They're not giving anything from the guidelines. They're not giving anything written. They're just like literally making crap up, and the patients are listening to that. And when patients hear crap, they're not stupid. They know it's crap. So, sorry, hold on. Okay. So that's number one. Don't take your exams as a joke. Don't take pharmacy as a joke. I know, like, look, I've been there, okay? We've all been there, and the person next to you is taking shortcuts. You know what I mean by taking shortcuts, right? I just don't want to say, because, I don't know, that word just bugs me out. But just like the concept of it. But okay, it doesn't matter. Anyways, I had Easy Pass, so I don't know if that worked. Whatever. Okay. They can look at it through my license plate. Okay, so your class, everyone is going to be taking shortcuts. 95% of people are going to be taking shortcuts, okay? Even the people on Rokai are going to be taking shortcuts. So you say to yourself, dude, alumni are giving information to other people in my class. You know, upperclassmen are helping out the P1s, the P2s. Why can't I be part of that? So, and I get it. And it's very difficult not to take that information, right? I get it. So let's talk practically. Practically this, if you want to take shortcuts on things that are not on the NAPLEX, things that are not going to be like important for your survival as a pharmacist, then fine, go take a shortcut. I really don't care. Okay, like if there's a class like I don't know, like public health or professionalism or I don't know, like some class that has nothing to do with your clinical knowledge, right, as a pharmacist, some ethics class, whatever it is, go ahead and take that shortcut. I'm not advocating for it, by the way. I'm not saying that you should. I'm just saying that if you are going to make that decision, make it on classes that aren't going to hurt you a few years down the line. Because I promise you, if you're going to take shortcuts on classes that are clinical, that are therapeutic, even any of those lab classes, if you're going to take shortcuts on those, it is going to hit you. It's going to shoot you in the foot. You're shooting yourself in the foot, and you're going to regret it. Every single person I've talked to who has taken shortcuts has regretted it. No one likes it. Okay, so that's the next advice, and I know it's hard, but honestly, slow and steady wins the race. Okay, and to make your life as smooth as possible, this is the way to do it. Okay, so now let's say you didn't listen and you still took a shortcut, right? This is my next advice. If you've taken a shortcut, look, if you've taken a shortcut, your GPA does not reflect what you know. Okay, let's be honest. If you're doing shortcuts and your GPA is like a 3.9, guess what? Don't kid yourself. Don't lie to yourself. You don't know shit. All right? You don't know anything that you learned for the last 4 years. So put that GPA to the side. Get real with yourself. And at least every summer, before you move on to the next year, literally go over every single chapter that you took a shortcut on. Go over every single disease state, every single module, and make sure, if you don't know it, at least you document somewhere, whether it be Anki or whether it be like in a folder or whatever you have to do, or however you take notes. Document it somewhere so that you can come back to it in an organized way. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay? If you did something for a grade, if you took a shortcut for a grade, you know, I can't do anything about it now. You can't do anything about it now. What's done is done. But the way that you can make sure that you don't shoot yourself in the foot in the future is that at least you learn the material now. Okay? You take the summer, you do whatever you have to do, and you learn the material. So, yeah, that's all I would say about taking shortcuts. Be organized until P4 year. Okay, so now let's say it's P4 year, right? Hold on. Okay, so now let's say it's P4 year and you're getting ready to study for the NAPLEX. How long do you have to study? So hold on. First about this. Last video, I was rhetorically asking a question, like, are you dumb? You know, people ask themselves this question, am I dumb? So, what does that mean? That means, do I have the intellectual capacity to pass this exam? And if you come into this question, let me read. So, ask yourself, who passes these exams, right? Is it the top 10% of the class? Is it Rokai students? Is it, you know, those go-getters, those overachievers? Are these the people that pass the exam? And the answer is no, not necessarily. I have so many evidence of people who are even the bottom 10% of the class, and they passed on their first try. Okay? Do only those who apply for residency pass? No, not at all. Right? So you do not need to be, and I also know people who are in, because I had a lot of Rokai friends for some reason, I don't know why, but even people in Rokai who didn't pass their first time. So it has nothing to do with how smart you are, because, you know, naturally you associate Rokai, or, you know, the top 10% with being smart, with people who know their shit. Okay? So no, not necessarily. Where you lie in your class, your GPA does not reflect if you will pass the NAPLEX on the first try or not. Okay? That's number one. Number two is... Okay, so let's say... Okay, so now it's P4. So that's the first thing. So don't think that you're stupid. And if you do get into that... because the thing is, these types of questions, right? It just stops your studying. Honestly, it just creates barriers to your studying, and while you're reading through a chapter, you start doubting yourself, you start, you know, hating yourself, you start calling yourself names, and like, it's just stupid. So, you know, take out your diploma, look at it, take a deep breath, and tell yourself, you know what, I did this. I went through 4 years of pharmacy school, or if you did the, you know, the farm track, so what is that, 6 years, like straight from high school? Pretty sure it's 6 years. So, you know, I did all this studying, I did all this work, I got to this point. I am not a loser, I am not dumb, I have what it takes to pass this exam. And honestly, at that point, you need to make a mentality for yourself, like, you hate this fucking exam. That's how you have to be. You know, someone was telling me the other day, or I think I read it on Reddit, and then someone was telling me this too. It's like, oh, did you like that exam? I'm like, what do you mean, did I like that exam? It's like, I don't know, it was so much fun, right? Like, studying for the exam and taking that exam. Like, are you kidding me? This is the biggest headache of my life. This has stopped me from so many opportunities. Like, what like, some people on these Reddit groups, man, like, me and you, we have such different outlooks on life. Like, but I don't know. Pharmacy, like, without my friends, I would never have passed pharmacy school, first of all. And second of all, it was hard. It was not a walk in the park for me. So I've read so many like articles by people on how to pass the exam, how to pass the NAPLEX on your first try, how to do this on your first try or whatever. And like the way they talk is like, it's such a different language. I don't even know where they're coming from, honestly. We live such total different world. We're like in total different worlds in our experiences. Say, oh, just remember this from school. Just remember that from school. I'm like, bro, I don't even remember anything. So I don't know. Anyways, but yeah. So that's the thing, right? Like, you don't think you're a loser, and think about it. I mean, this is how I did it, right? And like I said before, like when I say you should do this, I don't actually mean you should do this. I mean that this is what I did, and I hope that you find advice in it. I hope you find that it might help you, and if it doesn't, it's okay. But you know, this is what I went through. So I changed my mentality into, I hate this fucking exam. I remember I had a tutor, and they were like, you know what, you need to fall in love with this exam, and you need to learn everything that you can, and every single day when you open that book, you need to be happy about studying, and all this like mumbo jumbo, like you're frolicking in the garden type shit. Like, I don't know, I don't live in a fucking fantasy world, okay? So my mentality was, fuck this exam, I hate this exam, I am going to show the world that I can pass this exam. Because I'm sick and tired of opening this book. I'm sick and tired of seeing these words, seeing that tip girl, tip guy thing. I just want to smack those people in the face. They're so annoying. I just hate this exam, okay? That's literally how I thought. So whatever you have to do to boost yourself up and keep yourself going, that's what you got to do. But don't you ever call yourself a loser. Don't you ever call yourself dumb. And if there's anyone around you who's calling you dumb, because I definitely had people like that, get away from them. They're not going to help you study. Okay? So, anyways, back to the topic. You're a P4 year, and you're thinking about, how long do I need to study for this exam? And I'll get to the reason why you might be thinking about that, okay? But first, how long do I need to take the exam? So, at this point, what you want to do is open up that Anki, open up whatever your note cards that you were taking or those files, read the disease state or read the topic, and just write down how much information you know on day one, before even opening the book, on how much information you know, okay? And then just judge yourself. Do I know more than, I would say, 85% of the material of what I have? If you don't know 85% of the material, I mean, like, honestly, it's like about how much you know. Like, go through everything and say, okay, do I know this? Do I not know this? Do I know this? Do I not know this? How well do I know this? Do I know the brand and generic for everything? Okay, and I'm gonna go into the specifics about what you should know for the NAPLEX and what you shouldn't. But at this stage, like on P4 year, your mentality should be, how much do I know the information that the school has already taught me before even opening my NAPLEX book? So if everything is just like, yo, I'm so lost, I need to review everything, so get ready for a good 6 months of studying. Okay? And then let's say if you know, I would say 70 to 75% of the material, I would say maybe 4 to 5 months of studying. And then if you're around 80 and above percent of material that you know, then I would say maybe either like 2 to 4 months of studying. Okay, that's how I would break it down. Okay, so don't base it on, oh, my GPA is a 3.7, or my GPA is a 3.9. So that means I don't need to study shit. No, don't do that. Do it based on going over the material that you have in school, and before you even open up the notes, before you even open up anything, test yourself, do I know this? Okay, and then in a later video, I'll go into like, okay, when you see a disease state, what are the things that are supposed to pop into your head to question yourself on what you should know and what you shouldn't know? Okay? So that would be P4 year. Okay, and then, okay, so what's the reason for doing this in the first place? So the reason is you might be applying to jobs, okay? You might have a residency. So this is what happened to me, right? I got accepted to residency, and obviously I'm a dumbass, and I was careless, so I wasn't studying as diligently as I should have for my residency, and I also didn't know how much I knew. I really didn't. I thought, like, you know what, I had the RX prep book, and I was just like, you know, like skimming through it, and I was like, okay, I know some of this, some of them I don't, and I was like, okay, let's just schedule a date. One reason is because I was sort of being pressured by the residency to do so, which is, you know, understandable. I would, if I was a preceptor, I would have done the same thing. But you know, that was one reason. And the second reason is that I honestly did not know how much time I needed to study. So I just picked like a random day in September, and I'm like, I'm just gonna take it and just see what happens. Don't do that. Do not do that. It's the dumbest thing you could ever do. Okay? The other thing is, people say that take the pre-NAPLEX to determine how much you need to study. I don't know. I don't have experience in that. I'll tell you how I use the pre-NAPLEX, but that was not my experience at all. So I can't talk about it. But I know a lot of people who do, so I'm just not going to talk about it in that aspect. But I'll talk about pre-NAPLEX for a different aspect of how I used it to make a decision. But I did not use it to know how much on my first try of studying how much I need to do. I don't know. That's just my opinion. So yeah. So employers are gonna ask you, right? Like, when is your expected date of getting licensed? And you're gonna have to give them a date. You're gonna have to give them an answer. You can't just be like, oh, I don't know. Okay. And then another thing is for yourself. If you're in P4 year, right? Before you start your rotations, and you go through this exercise, and you're like, God damn it, I don't know anything. Then at least you know for yourself that, hey, I should not be applying for places right now. Because no way in hell will I have time. Okay, look. If you don't know 75% of the information on day one, don't expect yourself to become some magic computer and memorize everything while you're on rotations. It's not gonna happen. Or like, meaning like while you're doing residency. You're gonna make a fool out of yourself. Okay, you're gonna embarrass the residency, you're gonna embarrass yourself, you're gonna go into depression, like everything that happened to me. Okay, so don't make the mistakes that I did. Same thing with getting a job. Don't, you know, people get hired. I know a lot of examples. They promise that they're gonna get licensed by this date, and they start failing exams. And why are they failing exams? Because they cannot study while they're at work. They're not used to that. So by doing this exercise, it keeps you in check, and it tells yourself that this is where I'm realistically at in my life. Okay? Because in retrospect, if I had someone tell me these things and tell me the consequences of my actions, I probably would not have taken a residency. I probably would have waited. I would have passed my NAPLEX. I would have gone the long route. Like I would have gone, retail, then 2 years, then either residency, or I would just go straight into like MCare or something like that. That's what would be my route. But because I was just since P2 year, I've been focused on residency. That was my thing. I talked to all residents all the time. Like I visited a hospital. Like that was my thing. So I was obsessed with that, but I wasn't obsessed with studying for the NAPLEX. So it just it didn't work. So be realistic with where you stand as a clinician before P4 ends. This would be on the summer of P3 and P4. That summer, that's probably the best time to test yourself, to really go through each chapter and see how much you know. But the latest, definitely before you start your API rotations, that's when you wanna see where you are. Okay, and I'm not saying this is when you want to study everything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you to test yourself to see where you are. That's it. Just do a quick diagnostic. Okay, and that will determine, because it doesn't matter what you want to do. It doesn't matter if you want to get a residency. It doesn't matter if you want to get a job. The truth is, you cannot. You will get kicked out. You will be forced to leave if you cannot pass an exam. And it's gonna push you back at least a year. If not a year and a half, if not 2 years. Okay? So if you're a person that cannot go fast, take it slow. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with taking it slow. And at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with making mistakes either. Everything is a learning process. And there's no, I hate it when people say, oh, you're doing this too late. Look, no one put a timeline on life. On getting things done in life. If you're doing all your responsibilities in life, then that's all that matters. Okay? So, yeah. Anyways. That's the final thing I would say, is be realistic. I wish I was more realistic before I joined my residency. So if I had done this practice, I would have seen where I was with the NAPLEX, and then I would have been able to make a better decision. So that's P1 to P4 about what type of student you need to be. And I'm specifically focusing on taking shortcuts, because you're doing it. Everyone knows you're doing it. Dude, even the professors know you're doing it, but do you know why they don't call it out? I've been in these meetings. I've been in these curriculum, I can't, whatever. But just know that I've been in these meetings. They all know. But they publicly blame it on, oh, it was COVID. Oh, it was this. Oh, it was that. Oh, students are stressed. Oh, this year we took in too many students. That's why it's happening. Oh, we opened the students, or what's it called? We have lower barriers for students to come in now. Meaning we're accepting too many students that we normally would not accept. I call that all BS, honestly. I call that all BS. Because look, it's very objective. PCAT score, high. Prereqs, done. Do you show any sense of urge to become a pharmacist? Yes, that's it. To me, that's it. Those are the 3 things that you need to get into pharmacy school. High PCAT score, some desire to become a pharmacist, and your prereqs are completed. What else matters? No one gives a crap about what you did extracurricular. I mean, if you didn't do anything extracurricular, that's a red flag. But if whatever you've done, that's it. No one goes into the details. No one gives a crap. No one cares what your major is. Okay? So, look, I called it on all these taking. I'm not gonna start calling out universities, but I definitely know one medical school. Because look, I'm not in medical school, right? So I don't give a crap about them. So I'll tell you about the medical school. There was definitely a medical school that got sued because it wasn't tracking its students taking shortcuts. And I forgot how many. I think it was like 50 students or something like that. They all got like either held back a year or they got kicked out of the program. I forgot what it was, but pharmacy schools cannot do that. They can't just start kicking out students. None of them are going to do it. It's going to hit their reputation. Okay? So, I think silently, like, behind the scenes, all these professors know that people are taking shortcuts. Students know they're taking shortcuts, but no one is doing anything about it because that's how it's been going on for years. I know 3 schools on the top of my head, that I know that there is information passing down from graduates to people in their schools. And you know what information I'm talking about. So let's all just cut the crap. We know what we're doing, but yeah, I mean, not we, I'm not putting myself into it, but I'm just saying that because again, the mentality should be, I'm not doing this for an exam. I'm doing this so that I don't kill another person. Okay? So, like, I'd rather have a person who has B's and C's and passes the NAPLEX than a person who has A's and B's and kills someone. Okay, so yeah. Anyways, that's it for today. I know the audio might be crappy, and one day if I figure out how to clean all this stuff up, I will. But yeah.